Land of the rising sun, we love and cherish. Beloved home, land of our brave heroes. We must defend our lives, or we shall perish. We shall protect our hearts from all our foes. But if the price is death for all we hold dear, then let us die without a shred of fear.
Great God of the universe, Eke that created the world, the benevolent God of our ancestors, land of the rising sun. We have gathered again in great numbers today, for a toad does not run in the daylight for nothing. If one sees a toad running in broad daylight, let it be known that something is after its life. Great deluge have assembled against us and must be scattered by a divine tempest sent by you. King that lives above, sweep away not only their shadows, but also their footprints. We have not risen against man or woman. It is you that gave us this land for our refuge. God the Creator, open our ears and our mind to perceive what we will hear today. You are the one that have given us life. Now give us what we use to sustain it. Give us a kingdom with great wisdom and an abundant freedom. It is said that a visitor must not overshadow his host, but when going, may he not depart with a protruding back. The little Ekwe have started at peeling the Ikoro, the great wooden gong. We are experiencing darkness in broad daylight. Please help us to uproot all the nefarious weeds from the length and breadth of our land. Let the kite perch, and let the egret perch, and let the eagle perch. A church should not be overpowered for what God have given to him. Guide and accompany us as we proceed on this our journey, for we are banking on your strength to reach to this our destination. So whoever positions himself before his personal God, may he run himself to exhaustion. Peace must reign in our land. May your will prevail. And let all be according to your will. He said,
This is Rose Ama, and this is BCB.
Fellow Biafrans, in the name of the one true God whom we venerate as creator of all things that is and will be, with much respect and recognition to all those who went before us in this struggle, our ancestors and progenitors, our mothers and fathers, those that have sustained our posterity, I bring greetings from the Biafra government in exile. My name is Maazi Chima, and I bring this message to you in my capacity as a secretary to government, and more importantly in service to the men and women of Biafra. As we enter this critical path in our struggle to free ourselves from the British corporate entity formerly known as the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a contraption created for the sole purpose of keeping us in bondage and servitude, it remains a fact that the British feudal system in Nigeria, which sees you as a conquered people, seeks to maintain the status quo through military force and propaganda. In our quest to be free through the peaceful process of a plebiscite, the Biafra government in exile categorically states that we neither declare war nor peace upon Nigeria, those that recognize themselves as Nigerians, and the Nigerian government. We simply give notice that it is our right to decide the basis of our existence and to exercise our decision without threat to life and livelihood. We also give notice to the Crown that we neither consented by word nor deed for our mind, bodies, lives, land, and labor to be held as property of the Nigerian state. Therefore, the Nigerian Constitution, which was created by construed consent and seeks to hold us hostage, is not binding on us. We urge all Biafrans, therefore, to remain wise to the empty promises of Nigerian politicians who want to reinstate your slavery by asking you to vote in elections that have so far failed to deliver. Understand that your vote is a permission for them to continue with their unscrupulous activities of enriching themselves by exploiting their leadership positions for selfish gain while they deceive you with sweet-sounding platitudes like one Nigeria and strength in diversity in order to give the appearance of nationhood and patriotism. But the truth still remains. Nigeria is not a nation. It is a mere geographical expression. There are no Nigerians in the same sense as there are English or Welsh or French. The word Nigeria is merely a distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria from those who do not. Our inhumane treatment from 1914 to date bears witness to this fact. The pogrom of 1966 bears witness to this fact. The illegal abduction, incarceration, and killing of Biafrans seeking freedom bears witness to this fact. The constant harassment and terrorism of young men and women in Biafra land bears witness to this fact. The insecurity and anarchy that has been visited on Biafrans and the Biafran territory by the Nigerian military bears witness to this fact. The kidnap, torture, and forced interrogation of Nnamdi Kanu bears witness to this fact. The Biafra government in exile insists that the only crime of all Biafrans maimed, killed, held in illegal detention, denied due process, denied their right to be heard, denied a fair hearing, is speaking out against tyranny and injustice. The only crime of Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB is that they exercise their freedom of speech and expose the lies of the Crown and the Nigerian state. The Biafra government in exile reminds Nigeria that freedom of speech remains an inalienable right that must be guaranteed. As it is said, I may disapprove of what you say, but I defend to death your right to say it. To our fellow Biafran, Governor-elect of Anambra State, the Honorable Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, the Biafra government in exile congratulates you on your victory at the polls. We remind you that you have been elected under a constitution that has taken away all the freedom we once enjoyed. We remind you that Nigerian soldiers occupy our lands and headsmen are terrorizing our people. We welcome your willingness to engage all stakeholders, including Biafrans exercising their right to be free. We remind you that you stand elected today of the people, by the people, and for the people. As the people have given their consent for you to govern them, the people can also take it back if they are not heard by refusing to participate next time you want their mandate to govern. To all Biafrans at home and in the diaspora, I urge you to remain resolute as we march together on our long walk to freedom. God bless you all, and God bless Biafra.
Good evening, good day, fellow Biafrans. This is Rose Ama, and this is BCB. I am in conversation with 3 members of the BGIE leadership, Mazi Christian, Mazi Madu Abuchukwu, and Mazi Chima. And today we are going to take a look at the recently concluded gubernatorial elections in Anambra State. We'll think about it, talk about its implications for us, for Biafra, for that state in particular. And hopefully we'll also have some conversation around the state of the IPOB and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So I welcome you to the program, and I hope that you would listen to us with open hearts and open minds. This is a conversation. Welcome, my brothers. So please briefly introduce yourselves. Let's start with Mazi Christian. What's your role?
Thank you very much, Rose. It's a pleasure being with you for this program. My name is Mazi Christian, as you said, and my role in Biafra government in exile is I am the head of government. The office, I occupy the office of the Prime Minister. I just want to clarify so that people don't begin to get confused. The concept of government in exile is one that is globally accepted by the international community. And it's simply to indicate and signify that the country that lost the war in 1970 did not die. Its government moved into exile. And the remnants of its people and its government still exist. So there is hope for its people that one day, when justice is finally delivered and the country becomes a free, independent nation, its government will go back home to help to build a modern nation and a prosperous nation that we deserve to have. So I want to be clear to our listeners. It is a platform that signifies that Biafra is still alive, that we have a strategic plan and platform to coordinate the restoration program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've got Mazi Chima. What's your role?
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Mazi Chuma, as you said, and I act as the secretary to government, and I'm looking forward to the program and once again the opportunity to speak to Biafran people. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you and welcome. And now we have Mazi Madu Abuchukwu.
Thank you, moderator. It's good to have you always. Thank you so much for all you are doing for us. As a foundation and member of BGIE, I just serve as the secretary to health. And just like the PM said, nobody should read meanings into what we are doing. We are a preparatory team, making sure that we're not taken by surprise. Because you know very well the world is full of surprises. And vacuum is not allowed. We can't allow vacuum to exist. So for any reason, what we are doing now, getting ready. If anything happens, the government is there, our people are covered, and our people are guided. That's what we are doing. We're not doing anything outside this. Thank you.
Thank you. So I am going to begin by basically asking about the recently concluded gubernatorial elections in Anambra State. Before the elections, IPOB had encouraged Biafrans not to participate, not to vote. And the elections also coincided with IPOB's lockdown for a few days. BGIE indicated that they were not supportive of the elections, but also said to people that they do not encourage participation. However, I want to emphasize this, however, participation was left to the individual, that it was a choice for them. Well, granted that we have a large population in Anambra State, many people participated regardless of, the advice. And as of yesterday, it's indicated that Soludo was elected governor, although as of last night, when I read the newspaper, they were still talking about supplemental election in Ihiala. So I'd like any of you to comment briefly on this particular election. How do you see it in terms of the struggle for Biafra? What does it mean that not everybody listened, that some people went ahead and participated in the election? Can we start with the Prime Minister?
Yes, thank you very much. I want to quickly say this first, and that is to congratulate Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo on winning the election and becoming the governor-elect of Anambra State. I want to also thank God that there was no violence involved, and yet again, we did not lose precious lives. Given that prior to the election, there were really disturbing events and needless lives being lost, and a lot of violence going ahead. I want to also say, congratulate all Alhambra people for electing an excellent candidate, a well educated, experienced, and articulate individual. In the end, it was good that the best candidate emerged. And I think the rest of the southeastern states, Biafra land, going forward, need to, borrow a leaf from the election we just witnessed. So quickly adding also that the outturn, the turnout of the election was quite poor. If you look at the numbers that we saw, I don't think there was more than up to 25% of the registered voters turning up out to vote. If it's up to 25, it would be just up to 25, and I think that is the constitutional requirement. Or maybe not. I think the constitutional requirement might as well be a number of local governments a candidate or a party needs to win. And in this case, APGA won 18 out of 21, which is quite resounding. Having said that, I want to add the implication of this election to the struggle for the restoration of the independent state of Biafra. What does it mean to our struggle? So what the struggle is for Biafra to be free, for Biafra to become a separate nation from Nigeria and establish itself once again as a free member of Committee of Nations, so that we can develop at our own pace our people can compete and grow and reach their God-given potentials, which we know from every indication is being stifled deliberately under a Nigerian system. So the implication, therefore, is people may think it's negative, but I see it as a positive thing. This election happening, ending well, with Professor Charles emerging, is actually a positive to our struggle. So a lot of people who think that Biafrans will not be able to govern themselves can indeed see the quality of the candidates of people that we have in the event that Biafra emerges. So he is one of many thousands or millions of excellent individuals from Biafra land who are capable and who actually know how to build a nation. So that resource is there. And our people should not be scared or afraid that, oh, Biafrans will not be able to govern themselves or that sort of thinking. We will be able to go. We have that excellent human capital resource to do that. So for me, that is a positive. Again, for us to have people who actually understand democracy, who are educated, who are enlightened, it makes our struggle easier, that we have people who we can dialogue with. We can effectively engage in discussions and they will understand protocols, they will understand democratic principles, they will understand diplomatic principles, and you can debate them on points and ideas and be able to, convince them about the need for our people to be free. So the fact remains that it is a step in the right direction. Whether our long-term approach is a two-stage process or a one-stage process, this election in Anambra State, Anambra is strategic. It's a positive thing to the Biafra agitation because it gives us a base economically. If he gets it right and gets the Anambra powerhouse moving economically, it gives the entire Southeast Biafra land a sound base, for economic freedom first, or economic emancipation, if you like, that would then give us a solid foundation to build on the political freedom.
All right. That's excellent. Excellent. What about you, Brother Chima? Do you have anything to add?
Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you. And once again, you mentioned that indeed our stance was that people will not go out and participate in something that we considered still to be part of the Nigerian system, being under the same constitution, which was falsely put together to bring a group of nations together and then basically take their sovereignty. That's the real message of the agitation, that we've been put together into what essentially the various agitating groups, including IPOB, call a contraption, which was not sorted out very well to begin with. And the agitation is just saying, let us sort out the basis of our existence to see if we want to stay together or not. Let the people basically either give their consent or not. Now, to the winner of the election, we say again, congratulations. He's a Biafran, and we must congratulate him on that basis. And we hope he brings with him good governance as an example of really how to take responsibility and have people's interests at heart when you are in government. Now, like the PM said, there was a very poor turnout to the election, which means that the message is getting to the people slowly for them to understand that voting in a system which reinstates a constitution which essentially takes rights and freedoms from them, keeps them in that system. But if they want to take back their sovereignty, they must insist that basically we do not want to be part of it anymore by voting. And by the poor turnout, you can see that the message is getting there. And there's still work to be done. And that work must be done as the various agitating groups, including BGIE, are doing to educate our people about their rights and how to exercise it, carries on. Now to the party, ABGA, what I would say is, yes, they've won Anambra once again, but they should remember why they were set up in the first place and what they were set up to do in the whole of the Southeast, which they have failed to do so far. But once again, I would like to say congratulations, but the agitation and the work continues for us.
Thank you, Brother Chima. All right, so we have Brother Omaze Madabuchuku. Do you have something to add to this? It would be wonderful to hear your voice.
Oh, yes, because I'm from Anambra State.
Oh,
I'm an
great.
Ambrarian.
Wonderful.
Oh, yes. And not only that, I'm from Ihala, and we refused to vote the first day because we never knew what they were doing until the power players came to us and told us exactly what it was. Then we went to the polls on Saturday, and Prof. Soludo won. We were so happy, and we say, congratulations to him. What remains is for him to remember exactly what he has been saying all these days in the campaign trail. He has told us so many things. Well, let's go. Let's hope now that they are going to be completed. But before that, I have a preoccupation. My preoccupation is that since last night, I have been reading messages of congratulation from so many individuals. Some people are trying to adduce, watch my word, adduce that, well, with Soludo and the election in Anambra, done Biafran agitation is all over. No. I want to tell our people that no, this is the beginning. It's a wonderful thing that IPOB, who initially resisted the election, who were told that by brokering by Bishop Obinna, immediately they allowed the election to go. And that actually is one of the main reasons for the poor turnout, because the time everybody knew it was not going to go. On Sunday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, well, the brokers went in and agreed to do the voting. And therefore, people were informed, and so many didn't believe it was going to happen. Because IPOB sit-at-home order is a standing order, and people obey it. Reasons they know better. And personally, I would not say it's good or whether it's good or whether it's bad. No, the order is standing and he's there. So what I advise our people is, please remember that Soludo is a prof of economics. He knows much. He can help Igbo land, not only Anambra. We have things to be done, but we have to know exactly who we are. If we don't know exactly who we are, then everything we are doing is just by the way. So I call on the politicians, elected politicians now, to really sit down and before they're sworn in, let them decide what they're going to do with us, knowing that this is the beginning of the journey. The Biafran agitation didn't start today. Biafra agitation is as old as most of us. And therefore, we have not seen the conclusion. It has to continue. Nobody should believe that because a popular, highly educated professor has won the election, the fight is won. No, sir, it is not so. We need to know exactly why we are doing this. We are doing this because we are not wanted in Nigeria. And people are not even prepared to sit down together and find exactly what the problem, where the problem lies. If we had people who want to know exactly what's the problem, that means there will be a solution one day. But because the overlords who see others as slaves have no time to think about what it's all about, then the problem is the fight continues. And until we're able to get Biafra land going in terms of anything you can think about, especially democracy, if we're able to do that, then that's when we know the fight has been won and then the agitation has stopped. Election in Anambra is a beginning. It is not an end. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
let me quickly add to what Bro Madabuchuku said, please.
Please go
Rose,
ahead.
if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's very important for our people to understand that an ideology does not die very easily. And the ideology of Biafra freedom is, inbuilt, is inherent in every, whether Igbo man or Ijaw man or Efik man, all the ethnic nationalities in Biafra land, the old eastern region. Let me quickly add that we know that there are people, our brothers and sisters, who believe in one Nigeria as well. So it is within their right also to pursue that and to believe that. But I believe that majority of us indeed want to exit from Nigeria, and it's a legitimate wish. It's not, you're not committing any crime by agitating to exit from Nigeria. The British people campaigned and agitated to leave the European Union, and they did. And Scottish people campaigned, agitated to leave the United Kingdom, and they failed once, and they are preparing to try a second time. So it's important that decent people are being elected into political offices in Biafra land, and Anambra being a case in point. That means that we now have the opportunity to engage them, for them to understand, and every Soludo will be the best person to understand that governance under the current Nigerian constitution will not be easy. That from day one, his hands are tied. He is in the economic think tank of the present federal government. He is also advising the outgoing Anambra government on economic policies. So he is an inside person. He was the central bank governor. So we can say he's part of the establishment. And he will know that there is a structural problem that will inhibit his ability to deliver his manifesto in Anambra State. Therefore, he must be open his mind to discussions, to the idea of getting Anambra and indeed the whole of Biafra out of Nigeria, to just remove those shackles holding us down for decades so that we can thrive. There could be a seaport in our nature. There could be proper cities in the east. There could be proper railways and infrastructure, proper road connectivity infrastructure, proper broadband and Wi-Fi infrastructure to aid business and productivity. He will be the best person to understand that the current Nigerian constitution will not allow him to do that, to fund his projects. He will be dependent on monthly allocations from Abuja, which will not even be enough to take care of his recurrent expenditure. So he will need to work hard to generate additional revenue to even think of massive capital projects that will support the long-term viability of the state. So he will know these things. And what I will say to him is to keep his mind open and to be able to engage with us in discussions that he can, as a governor, put pressure on the Nigerian government to allow our people to decide for themselves where they want to belong. Okay, many people withheld their mandate in this election, like as Chima said, and this is significant. He will understand that if the turnout is below 25% or 30%, let's say, that there is apathy, that the majority of the people have deliberately withheld their mandate. They've not given him that, or put trust in the political process, Nigerian political process. So he needs to understand why the majority have done that and what those majority want, and be able to create the environment for the voices of those majority to be heard.
Okay, PM, I was having difficulty on muting myself, really. I am glad that you actually said much of what you said, because your comments have addressed some of the questions which I had, which is really, given that Soludo knows the situation on the ground right now, he is aware of the presence of IPOB. He's aware of the presence of a number of other small groups that are agitating for the liberation of, Biafra. He's aware of, BGIE, and he knows how much, I wouldn't say power, but how much the voices of these groups as a collective affect the attitudes of the ordinary citizens in Biafra at this moment. Given all of that, what might one expect from him? What would you expect from him? And you really have said some of that, but don't you think that now he's found himself in a conundrum? This is a conundrum that on the one hand, he has to engage in conversation or talks with groups that are seen as, that are seen as inimical to the very government that he serves. And on the other hand, he has to make sure that he is listening to this government that is inimical to groups that are trying to liberate his own people. How would you, what would you say to him if he were to come to you right now and say, I need advice from you? How should he handle this in such a way that it doesn't turn out to be like the relationship between the governor of Imo or of Abia and, the liberation groups, in Biafra? What would you say to him?
Well, I might just.
This is open to all of you, anybody.
Yeah. I don't know if bro Madabuchi or Prince
Chima,
Chima wants to.
who wants to take this on?
Jump in first.
Trying to say something on this.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, now, if Solodo approaches me tomorrow and say, hey, brother, what do I do to get this done? I will simply tell him to really sit down and examine his own personal conscience. Take your stand first. Where do you belong? See exactly what the groups are agitating for and what the other group is holding on. If you analyze it very well, you are on the ground. You have served 3 governments. You are an Anambra citizen. As the PM said, you are the economic advisor to the present Anambra government you are trying to replace. Now, if you are able to talk to your conscience and listen to the honest people around you, you will know that making our people stay in Nigeria 1 second more is a calamity. Our people need to get out of Nigeria to develop themselves. Our people need to get out of Nigeria to show the world that we have come, what we can do. Our people need to get out of Nigeria, if nothing else, for democracy. Because a government that listens to one group and they are killing and they're doing everything, and you call them patriots, and other ones that are trying to get out and make their lives what they want to be, you call them terrorists. These are things he should personally, because I'm telling you this, I'm from Anambra. If he listens to people and listens to what they're going to tell him, there'll be some problem. Because a lot of people believe that when there's a good government, and I hope he's going to produce a good government, that then the agitation will go when there's a good government. But this is erroneous. The good government in Anambra is not what actually solves our problem. Our problem is freedom. That our mothers, our wives, our daughters, we go to farmland and nobody rapes them. That people, like yesterday in my own home, people are going to we're going to vote, and when they were passing the army checkpoint, they were asked to come down from the car, raise your hands as defeated people. This is what happened yesterday. They raised their hands and then crossed the police checkpoints before going to the booths to vote. This is what is done to slaves, and therefore nobody is happy to be in a place he calls his own home and is treated that way. So this is a very particular assignment for Prof. Soludo. He listens to himself. He's been there for a while, knows what is happening. Then he comes up with his own project, because if he misses to come out with a project, I'm telling you,
No,
all the talk is
sorry to cut you short.
Yes.
And please feel free to cut me short if you have other things to add, including Bro Chimobi. I think, to be very clear, he needs to understand that his people have been treated badly. His people are under threat. He needs to understand that that threat is real. And when it comes down, when push comes to shove, the enemy will not even spare him as well, because they will put all of us in one basket, like they did in the past. So, and I do not pretend that the job will be easy for him. But what he needs to do immediately, very quickly, is to form a solid team, a consensus, and bring all the political players in Biafra land into a room, the senators, the representatives, and then have to agree to work together to push for constitutional change and to ensure that a referendum is included in that constitution and push for a date for a referendum. The people must decide for themselves. It's happened before when the southern Cameroon moved away from Nigeria and joined Cameroon. It happened when some parts of the current Adamawa state had a vote and decided to be part of Nigeria. It happened again in the 60s when the Midwestern region was created. A referendum was held. So if they want to serve our people and to listen to them, he must galvanize the others, especially the people in the House of Assembly, to immediately begin to put pressure and table bills in the House that will include a referendum in the Constitution, or better still, to move for a complete process, a constitutional process that will deliver a new constitution that will be based on structural changes that will give the federating units the autonomy that they need, to develop. Whether those federating units are the states or they will become 6 regions, as it were, or whatever that be. So that fiscal federalism, political federalism needs to be addressed. And for us, that is a process in our independence pursuit, in our pursuit for self-determination. If that happens on the political arena and our states or our regions become autonomous, able to grow at their own pace, then that is a good step in the long run, in a very long-term plan for us to then extricate ourselves in future from Nigeria and push further. So the other thing that he needs to quickly do is to make sure, that he creates the right jobs in Anambra State so that the youth will be gainfully employed and empowered. And we know that majority of those youths believe in Biafra. And if they are empowered, we know that we have a population that will help going forward in their education. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Those are great ideas. In other words, you practically have developed a strategic plan for him, at least a strategic plan for success, really. In effect, he needs to gain the trust of the people by doing these things. It seems to me that's what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He needs to gain the trust of the people. And, he needs to start shouting now about the injustices, about the fact that Mazi Madabuchukwu raised, that people here, our people are demonized, killed for asking for freedom. And Fulani headsmen, terrorists in the north, bandits are treated with with all the love and petting, and even Boko Haram terrorists are being reinstated in the Nigerian army. And Fulani headsmen are killing people, causing mayhem, destroying our farms and people's livelihoods, attacking Christians and killing Christians. And not even one of them have been arrested and jailed. And they're not called terrorists. And you're calling indigenous people of Biafra agitating in a violent fashion. You're calling them, you're prescribing them and calling them terrorists.
Terrorists.
It's absolutely crazy, and he needs to, galvanize the others. Because I was listening to him during his debate, and he actually said he knows, he understands why our people are agitated, that he will be open to engaging them to discuss it, which is the right thing to do. So we want to dialogue, because we've got powerful ideas, powerful points to put across. But the case for Biafra is clear. Internationally, locally, people understand it. It's just that people that are benefiting from the faulty Nigerian structure are just being selfish and want to maintain the status quo. But the case for Biafra to exit from Nigeria is so powerful that we are happy to engage anyone in this dialogue, in this discussion, and put our points across in a civilized fashion.
Okay.
We are ready to have that debate, that discussion.
Mhm.
But once you go home and say that, they start hunting you down. Because Nigeria they've turned it into a banana republic.
Okay. All right. So
to add to that, there's a reason for there are reasons for agitations that are going on, and why people are basically making it heard that injustice is going on in the lands. People do not do things for nothing. They people say we're in a blossoming democratic era in the history of Nigeria. Well, if that's the case, well, I would just like to remind him that it's still government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Emphasis being on the people, and everyone is a stakeholder in both in the states and in the wider southeast. We're all stakeholders, and every voice is important. That is embedded in our culture. And it's as well embedded in our Republican way of life, both freedom and that people should be heard. So that trust is definitely important, and engaging with the agitating group at the moment is important because there's an important reason why they're agitating. And that is that freedom has been taken away from them. A way to live your life without living under fear that if you speak, you could just be taken away for no good reason other than you spoke out against injustice. So engagement with the people is definitely important. A lot of promises are made during the campaign trails for elections, but we at BGIE really hope that he lives up to the campaign train promise of engaging with agitators and engaging with us as well, because the poor turnout alone should be a loud message that the agitations and the education to people is getting stronger and stronger, and their rights can no longer be neglected by the same officials asking them to give them a mandate. So along with everything that has been said so far, engagement, listening to people, and carrying their interest along, because that is essentially why they voted you, should be key.
Okay. So how should this process of engagement then begin? Who initiates it? I realized, the PM suggested that he should initiate it. But if he is like the other governors, and I hope that he is not, based on what I'm hearing about him, or I have heard about him, but he also has to bear in mind that, he is in effect reporting to Abuja, which the prime minister pointed out. Abuja can withhold funds. Let's assume that he is open to this engagement. Who initiates the process? Should he extend an olive branch to the groups that are agitating for Biafra freedom? Or might the various groups agitating for Biafra freedom be open to sending emissaries to talk to him, or send him some signal indicating that they are open to having a conversation with him, which would then serve as a model for working with the other governors who have not been listening?
Rose, what we will do quickly is we will communicate with him. We will open that communication with him.
Okay,
Hopefully before his inauguration in March,
that's a good idea.
so that our issues are right there in front of him. We will write him. We will find out his handlers and people who can take messages to him, and we will ask for a meeting. And I don't think he's a guy that shies away from debates and discussions and dialogue. We will put that to the test, put him to the test, and see whether or not he will practice what he preaches. Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else?
No, I think that's essentially the key. All as we are willing at BGIE to go on that diplomatic front of writing to him, and making the issues known. I think all agitators as well should be willing to do that, to let him know that we're willing to engage. We're not just going to agitate and not listen. The people who also want to engage with us to know, what the issues are. So that willingness is there. And so long as there's a listening ear, then dialogue can be had.
Of course, because there has to be some level of diplomacy. These issues cannot be resolved within one year, 1 month, or a few months. So as you have all said over and over, there is need for engagement. And perhaps he would, engagement with him would provide a prototype for different kinds of engagement, or, various forms of engagement with, other governors, and perhaps with Nigeria itself. And it is important to have some diplomatic relationship or communication between the various groups and Soludo, since he is the newest governor in Biafra at this moment. What about
Yeah, just sorry about that. Just quickly.
Yes, go.
I don't know if I'm still coming across. Not sure what's happened to my system. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
we
are
hear
on.
you.
Okay, so it's important that we quickly move in and put our points across to him. There are other governors that we've put points across to, especially the governor of Akwa Ibom State. I've had discussions with him in a seminar, and there is no no right-thinking person that you put the points of Biafra freedom to that will argue too much about it, and so that's there are he can effectively understand what we are about, what BGI is doing, and the strategic manner we are following things, and the peaceful way we're following things. And he can appreciate that. And he will be in a good position to then maybe win the other governors across, to partner with him, to put our requests powerfully across to other people, and maybe mobilize our representatives to begin to say the right things when they go to the house. So I think we will take the initiative and make the point that it's not everyone that is in this agitation that is unreasonable, that we have reasonable ideas, we have very clear ways of putting them across in a reasonable way, and we also listen. We have the capacity to listen and understand what the other people are talking about, so that in the end, people can hear each other and understand each other, and then reach certain compromises. But as I said, there's no one, locally and internationally, who will, argue or not understand the powerful need um, um, for the restoration of Biafra, and who will, try to dismiss it, because the facts are there and they speak for themselves. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mazi Madu Abuchukwu, would you like to add something? You've been silent. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay. No, I'm saying that not necessarily that I'm quiet. I'm just full of thoughts, because
Share
we
with
have
us then. Share with us
we
some
have
of it.
we have a very serious, complex situation in front of us. We as a
Absolutely.
people, you see that most of us will think that, like I said initially, a new government has been formed, therefore the business is all over. No, this is the beginning. That's why I made an emphasis that he, Prof. Soludo, should think alone inside himself, and then get a team like the PM said. Because if you look at the structure of our home, there are some who are Nigeria, one who want one Nigeria, others want Biafra. And therefore, to get these two groups together is Herculean. The task is big. And therefore, the new man who is in town should play the role of a moderator. What do I mean? I mean that he, Prof, should really look inside and say, why do I have, as the chief security officer of the state, he has to say, why is this happening to my state? Now, if he comes out at a good conclusion, now the question of talking to each other comes up. Because if he's not convinced that something is happening, he's not going to listen to anybody. But as people who know him, or maybe as his academic stand shows, he listens to people. And therefore, listening to people is only army he has to really make something new. I mean, just make a mark, because it's been terrible in our home. People adore money.
Sorry
People adore
to cut
others.
you short, Raham.
Yeah, well, yes, I mean,
but
you're doing it right. But what I'm trying to say is that he has a lot of job to do.
Yes, to gain the trust of the people is simple. He needs to engage with the people, and to engage with the people, what he needs to be saying, recognize and make a pronouncement that yes, these people, this is a statement of fact. The people of Biafra have the right to self-determination. It's a fact.
If he can say it.
It's a fact. He needs to take that position and make it clear, unequivocally, that the people of Biafra, these people have that right to self-determination as enshrined in the United Nations Charter and the African Union Charter. You know, and he needs to condemn the injustice that is being meted against his people. Let me quickly give some things that he needs to say. And there's a senator from Anambra State some time ago who said this on House of Assembly, on the floor of the House. I've forgotten his name. But if anybody listening today, you will know the person I'm referring to. He asked a question. He said, our people are importers, especially Anambra people. You import goods worth 1 million, for example. You have to send it to Lagos because there's no seaport in the east. Now, you pay nearly 5 million to get your goods out of the port. You pay additional expenses because there are bad roads from Tinkan Port and Apapa to bring your goods out. Now, maybe you have outlets in Lagos to sell some, but they may have outlets in Onitsha and in Nnewi, depending on what they're selling or they're importing. Now, you have to bring those goods by road down to Onitsha or to Nnewi. Now, immediately you go past Ore and start coming into Biafra land. Every kilometer or 1.5 kilometers, there's a police checkpoint. Now, the police and the army start extorting money from them. They start giving 100 naira at this checkpoint. They travel another 2 miles. They give 100 naira at that checkpoint. They travel another 2 points. They give 200 naira at that checkpoint. Army, police checkpoints. Every 2-3 kilometers until they get to Onitsha. How much have they spent from the extortion of the Nigerian police and Nigerian army? And then they will have to make profit on their import when they sell them. So how are they going to be profitable in their business under such stifling and criminal environment? And up to today, nobody is saying anything about that, apart from that senator, I don't remember his name, from Anambra State, one of the senators. Now, so this is one, he needs to be crying for this kind of things to be removed. And he needs to be crying about the non-functionality of the seaport in Onitsha, of the seaport in Calabar, of the seaport in Port Harcourt, and even potential seaports that we should have in Azumini in Abia State. And if anybody is saying that Biafra is landlocked, they are just deceiving themselves.
Of course.
I don't know whether it's...
We are not landlocked. We are even nearer to the Atlantic than the rest of Nigeria.
30 kilometers from Osaka, we are
nearer the Atlantic than Lagos is, than Calabar is, than Port Harcourt is, the seaports in Abia State, potential ones in Abia and Anambra State, closer to the Atlantic. So that's for another day.
So he needs to be saying that for the government to be supporting Fulani headsmen, to be grabbing lands and killing our people must stop. He needs to be shouting from the rooftops about the killing of Christians in Nigeria. He needs to be shouting and presenting, making public reports of Inter-Society for Human Rights. And he needs to get the numbers of churches that are being destroyed, Christian priests and pastors that are killed and kidnapped and murdered, and churches that are burnt. If he starts shouting and condemning these injustices, he would have gained the trust of our people. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think part of what is interesting about this is that he can't do this by himself. Part of the galvanizing of support is not just simply doing this alone. There are also other governors. The one in Benue, I understand, has been screaming about that, and the Plateau State governor, who also has been, talking about the injustices his people are experiencing. Perhaps part of this is building a coalition with other governors who are equally upset by what they're experiencing. Their people are
terrorists.
Yeah.
The Middle Belt is being decimated by terrorists. The governor of Benue State has been crying. He's been the lone voice. There are displaced, in thousands of displaced persons in Benue State.
Exactly.
Churches destroyed. Even in Plateau State. The whole of the Middle Belt. They're regretting it now, because they were used against us during the war, but they are getting it back, and they can have a little taste of what it means for your children, for your women and men to be killed and murdered. So a little taste of that is coming to them. But we are always against violence, against the killing of people. In Biafra land, we respect human life, the sanctity of human life, the supremacy of the Almighty God, the creator of life. No one else has the power to take life away. And so he needs to join hands with those positive forces and get others on board. As you said, he needs a solid team to be able to, fight against this and speak up. Our people are mad with political leaders who are not speaking up against injustice.
Okay.
Look at the trade imbalances, like I explained, there are people who are predominantly business people are being stifled, and he's worked in the bank, in the central bank, and he will know this, that our people don't have, access to foreign exchange to do their business. They don't have access to facilities, to grow their businesses. And I know specific examples, about how our business people are suffering under Muhammad Buhari's regime. So they need to, for him to come out. We know that he's worked for Buhari's government and he's worked for Obiano's government. But to gain the trust of the people, he needs to be their champion, speak against those injustices, do things, create, form teams of other politicians that will be bold, that will be courageous to take a stand and speak for their people.
Okay, so I hope that in your letter to him that you indicate some of these things that you have pointed out. This actually brings me to an important issue that you mentioned this a little bit earlier, which is the case of these Fulani herders who have been rampaging Biafra. And we know that some of them were invited or given space by some governors, say, for instance, in Ebonyi next door. How should he handle this? Especially because Buhari has talked about open grazing or open border grazing. has talked about governors or states setting aside grazing land for cattle herders, but the cattle herders don't even want to wait. They have taken it upon themselves to just simply cross borders, attack people, attack everybody. And as you've said, they seem to be pampered by the Nigerian government. And so what would you say to him regarding this particular issue? Because this is one of the greatest threats that our people are experiencing. It's the Fulani herders and the so-called unknown gunmen. So, and Professor, Mazi Chima, you've also been silent. Would you like to say something, or would you like to defer to somebody else?
Yes, Chima, let me quickly jump in and then
Okay.
you can take over.
It's a conversation.
I apologize.
By the way,
I didn't know what was wrong with my actual.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine. But PM, you can go ahead, and I can go.
Just quickly, and then I'll hand over to you. The Anambra has done the important thing under Obiano to enact a legislation to ban open grazing. So by law, it's a crime, and it should be. So he needs to uphold that and enforce that, and make sure that anywhere these herders are seen, grazing their cattle openly in the towns and cities or in the bushes, that they are arrested, and prosecuted, and their cattle confiscated. He needs to enforce that. And he needs to be a strong player in the Southern Governors Forum. He needs to be a loud voice there. He needs to support all the other Southern governors and not behave like the Imo State governor who will not join the other Southern governors.
He's a renegade,
Yeah, to
rogue governor.
decisions that they have taken in the interest of their people, especially security interest of their people. So he needs to make sure that the legislation that the Anambra State House passed against open grazing is upheld, and he needs to, show example with some people and actually jail some of anybody who breaks that law, so that people will understand not to break the law in Anambra State, and indeed in any part of Biafra land.
Okay.
And to work together with the other Southern governors to improve security. He should also be bold to engage with the local vigilantes, especially the local vigilante that IPOB set up, the Eastern Security Network, to formalize it, to codify it, and give them the powers to protect our farms. That is the only hope that we have. The Nigerian police, the Nigerian military will never. They are protecting the terrorists. So like the Western governors did and formed a Moteku to protect their forests, and I know, and Anambra is taking the lead. We must give them credit for this. I know either Anambra or Enugu, they have forest rangers that patrol the forest and protect our farmers and our people. So they need to, leverage on that and get the Eastern Security Network, formalize them, give them training, mobilize them, and give them specific tasks of protecting, making sure that these herders that are armed with AK-47 don't keep killing our people in the forests, destroying our churches, and get information groups to find out where they are and what they are planning and stop them from killing our people. He should take a lead and do that our vigilantes join together with Eastern Security Network and formalize it and codify it in law and protect our people.
Oh yes, thanks, PM, for speaking there. You see, the issue of open grazing at the time it was brought up, in whatever form it was brought up, I think there was once they had the audacity to mention things like Ruga, something like that, which they wanted to essentially impose on people, is one of the reasons why the agitation is as strong as it is, because it goes from open grazing to, quite frankly, open terrorism, which means that and wherever they set their foot on, they can essentially have their cows decimate that land, claim it, and then nobody is able to say anything. In no country, civilized country, that obeys law and have respect and human decency and respect for rights, does such a thing happen? Whereby a bunch of people just turn up with animals and just claim a right to just graze, or indeed wants to be given a right to just almost a carte blanche right to just go wherever they want and just openly graze, let their animals just do what they like. And this has to be addressed. It has to be addressed by his government. He must come out strongly and say such a thing is not allowed. You have enough land wherever you're coming from to ranch your cattle. What do you need open grazing for? There is modern technology whereby you can grow as much food that your cattle need. Let them go ahead and do that. We cannot live in a country whereby open grazing is essentially being used to grab land. So now say, well, after our cattle have finished grazing, guess what? The land now belongs to us. And these are the things that are actively making the agitation stronger and stronger, because some of our leaders, believe it or not, have in the past said that Ruger is a good thing. You know, not necessarily from Anambra State, but some leaders from other states, has actively encouraged it. And it must not be allowed to stand, because it is essentially a covert way of taking land off of people, whereby a bunch of people can come and set up shop, and then the land now becomes theirs in the name of open grazing. And then when you try to drive them out, guess what happens? The army comes in, and we've seen this happen.
To protect
without
them.
without
They're
paying
running.
without paying for the land, without
Without
paying
pay-
for the land.
Without
And
paying for the land.
they compare it with Igbo people who are scattered everywhere. They pay for the land. They buy their property.
By their
Be it in
spouse.
Kano, in Meduguri, in Lagos, Igbo man pays for the property and does business and develop the community he's in anywhere he is.
Exactly.
They
And what
don't
we
live in the
say-
bushes and cause problems. No.
Exactly.
They
And
build
what-
businesses, give local people jobs, and develop their local community. And that is the way it should be.
That is the way it should be. And what we say to those that visit us, and those that want to come and live on the land with us, is very simple. Respect the culture, respect the people, respect the laws.
Yes,
And,
if you want to
and
do your
abide by them.
business, do your business legitimately. Come out, and if you buy a land and establish a ranch, it's a business. It's your individual business, and go
Yes.
by the law of that state where you are.
The nomadic herding of cattle, which then leads to other crimes being committed, is not something that will be tolerated, even if the governors of some states have looked the other way. And I really hope the governor of Anambra State will not.
Again,
Yeah, all we are saying, all we are saying is very interesting. But remember also that this governor-elect is also serving the federal government of Nigeria. that complex his problem.
Mhm.
So what am I trying to say? I am trying to say that in fairness to everybody, if, okay, like the PM said, if we initiate this dialogue and put this across to him, well, then he's going to laugh that because we are going to him. But for him to be saying this thing by himself, he's already in trouble with the federal government. And we know exactly how Nigeria works. I'm not starting brief for him,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no.
saying,
He's elected now
what a
as
minute,
the
what a
governor
minute,
of
yes,
Anambra
what a
State.
minute, yes, he is, what a minute, he is
So-
elected, of course, yes, I know he's elected.
One person at a time.
Exactly, I know he's elected, but I'm not denying him any right for his election. I'm saying he is a servant of the federal government. And most of the problem we have at home is the over-centralized government we have. The governor has limited power. He's the security, the chief security of his state, but he never acted. So what I'm suggesting is that let us, as the PM mentioned, which is very important, let us reach him with a bundle of suggestions, but let us do it faster, even before he's sworn in, because he has a chunk of meat to bite. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Okay, in
disagree
that-
that he is he's serving the government of Nigeria. The government of Nigeria did not elect him.
That's true too.
If indeed he's serving the government of Nigeria, then he should have gone to them for a mandate and not to the people. He came to the people and asked for their vote and asked for their consent, to represent their interest. And indeed, if their interest is they do not want open grazing, then that interest must be respected, because there's nothing from the federal level that says such a thing should exist. It's just the imaginations of someone that feels they should be given rights where, quite frankly, they do not have them.
Absolutely. That's, that is an important point to make. And PM is right that if Anambra State has already instituted or implemented a policy of no open grazing, which also exists in other states in Nigeria, then it would be, self-defeating to go against that policy and anger the people who have elected you to office. I want to wrap up this, this wonderful exchange, because, if I don't, we'll probably stay here till tomorrow. There is so much to talk about. I just want to wrap it up by coming back to something. In this case, it is the situation with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And if you would all say something very briefly in terms of advice to Soludo, in terms of handling or helping, to mediate the situation, with maybe intervene in the situation with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. What would you say to him, just very briefly, so that we can, everybody can go, right?
Yes, in 1 minute.
Yes, in 1 minute, yes.
The first time that Kanu was arrested, he's on record, and he said it in his debate, gubernatorial debate, that he played a role. He went to Kuje prison to see him, and he played a role in negotiating his release. So I urge him very humbly to play that role again. He just only needs to look at what happened today in court in Abuja and see that justice is being denied Nnamdi. He's not committed any crime. On the contrary, a crime is being committed against him by the state of Nigeria. So I will encourage him to quickly, enter into any negotiations, any discussions to put pressure on the forces that are holding him to release him. How can he go to court and all his legal representatives were locked out of court? None of them was in the courtroom when the judge spoke to him and adjourned the case till January. without his legal representation in the court. All of them locked outside. Have you ever seen anything like that before? So I know he's following, and I know that he would have seen that justice will never be given to this guy who's not committed any crime. And I will implore him to do whatever he can with the help of other people to ensure the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, PM. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
What I would say to the case of Nnamdi Kanu, it was once famously said that I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to death your rights to say it. You know, Nnamdi Kanu is essentially in the hands of the Nigerian authorities after being kidnapped, you know, from Kenya due to what he has said. The first time he was arrested, you know, he went to court, and his bail conditions, quite frankly, were things that violate his human rights. A lot of people don't mention that when they talk about this case, and when this case is talked about in Nigeria, one of those rights being the right of association, you know, and because essentially he was speaking and associating with whomever he wanted to associate, so long as he didn't break the law, you know, soldiers were sent to his house. His only crime is that he said things that they do not like, you know, and essentially they want to shut him up. And this has become a personal vendetta between the president of a country, you know, and someone who has essentially spoken out. And these are the type of things that Nigeria has done in the past. So I urge the governor of Anambra coming in.
Governor-elect.
The governor-elect coming in. I urge him to use his voice to reflect this saying that I've just read, that I may not agree with you, but I defend your rights to say it. Because people have the right to express whatever they want to express without being under threat of being locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And to also use that same voice to expose what is happening at the moment. And the fact that the so-called constitution under which we're meant to be living as free men and women, it says that the judiciary is independent, and yet it doesn't appear so. So if he lends a voice to this, that would be very crucial and necessary.
Thank you. And then what about you?
Yeah, lastly, I have to say that I agree with my brothers. What they said exactly made sense, because today's showing at the court at Abuja lacks a lot of things to be liked by anybody, any human being. But whatever happens, I would also advise Prof. Soludo to, in as much as he's doing everything possible to see that the gentleman is out, he should also extend his hands of fatherliness to the IPOB members itself, because sometimes they seem to be out of the world. They don't even know what is happening in the world. That's very important to let them know exactly that B is not always B, A is not always A. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just before we finish,
yes,
just to add to that, I would also like it if he also extends his voice to other agitators that are in jail at the moment.
Absolutely.
You know, for no other reason than either they were found with paraphernalia that shows that they support the Biafra movement, or that they spoke out. To see that justice is carried out and these people are let free because they have committed no crime.
Absolutely. I want to thank you all today for joining me in this conversation. I know that we could probably continue for quite some time, but this is wonderful. And I hope that you'd come back again. My fellow Biafrans, this is it for us. This is Rosama, and I hope that you take away a lot of wisdom from this conversation today. I do hope that BGIE will spend some time in drafting this letter to be sent to the incoming governor, Professor Soludo. And I look forward with great optimism that he would listen to you, and he will listen to IPOB. He would listen to other groups that are agitating for the liberation of Biafra. And as Prime Minister here has said, if Biafra is destroyed, he himself will also be destroyed with it, because he is a governor of one of those states. Join us again and like us on Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel. Please listen to our program. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. And I am Rosama. Thank you. Thank you, my brothers. And this ends our program. We shall